Seated. In Awana, every once in a while we sing a song, and then we sing it faster, and then we sing it faster, and then we sing it faster. This is one of those sermons. So, all right, I am a sea. No. This is the end of our journey through Romans. Romans presents the gospel to us so that it can change our lives, so that we can do a total makeover. This is the ultimate reality show because you are ultimately real. Warts and all, rotten wood, shaky foundations, roof that's coming off. Dean. Why did Kathy look at you, Dean? All of those things, but God gives us a makeover. Doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter where you have joined this reality show. God has wanted to make you over into His own image, into the image of His Son. And when we stand before God, we will stand before Him complete and perfect. It requires work on our parts. It also requires trust on our parts as we trust Him every day that we live. Paul touches quickly on a lot of different things here at the end of his letter, but two things that are completely unique in what Paul says. The first one is there's a warning about false teachers, and the second thing is a doxology. Now, you would think that a doxology would be pretty common in Paul's writings, but it's not. He doesn't do it at the end of letters. You know, we sing it every Sunday, but he didn't. And so that is an interesting thing, an interesting way to end the letter. Nowhere else does Paul launch into a warning about false teachers. Now, he does, in other letters, talk about some things that are happening and some people that might be causing some problems, and he hints at it that there might be false teachers, but he never talks about them explicitly. As with most false teachers, Paul is going to say that they cause divisions. That word divisions is a very rare word. It's found for those of you who have Bibles that have Maccabees in them. It was an ancient Jewish document, and they look at it to find what words mean. And also in Galatians, but they cause divisions in the church. And they put obstacles and stumbling blocks. That's a much more common word in the Bible because God tells us that we are not to stumble over Jesus. But there are false teachers who put all kinds of stumbling blocks in the ways of believers. They bring spiritual harm by teaching doctrines that are contrary to what God says. But Paul isn't really going to dwell on the doctrinal parts of this. He's going to dwell on what happens when those kinds of people show up in the church. These people are not serving Christ, but their own appetites. They're serving their bellies. They just want to help themselves to whatever they can get. And whether it's money, sex, or power, are the basic three temptations in life. Coca-Cola's the fourth. I think that's a Coke machine if you can't see the rest of that red. Those are the basic temptations in life. And if we find ourselves following somebody who's got those temptations and is serving those gods, is serving his belly or her belly, then we ought to be careful about them. Typical of false teachers, they mask their lack of truth by employing very persuasive speech skills. And they are good at it. They talk very fluently. They are very persuasive. And most of the time it's because there's no real content there, and there's some lies there. People who are naive or innocent, that looks like me when I graduated high school, by the way. I had tape on my glasses, and my hair was already receding. They are susceptible to that. And I suppose there's somebody out there, a false teacher out there, that we're all susceptible to. You might not be susceptible to one, but you might be susceptible to another. And we all have to stand our guard. We're all naive, I think, in one particular area. I don't know which that is in you, and I'm not sure what that is in me, but we have to be very careful to not listen to those people. Now, the problem is that our sincerity and our drive to obey contributes to the success of false teachers. Now, I put a bottle of Evian up there, except it doesn't say Evian. Evian spelled backwards is naive. I mean, if you're going to buy a bottle of water and pay $3 for it, that's pretty naive. I don't think that, I think that the spelling is coincidental, but it seems to be the case. You know, they found a market and they've filled it with water. False teachers fill the market with their false teachings. And because we are the kind of people who trust God, that is a great thing, we also tend to sometimes trust false teachers, which is a bad thing. And so the thing that makes us good Christians can also make us susceptible to these false teachers, and we need to be careful about that. And so Paul says that he wants his readers to remain innocent when it comes to evil. Paul's promises that he's going to soon crush Satan under our feet, and that relates probably to those false teachers. But it could go all the way back to Genesis, but more probably it's just a general promise that we have that God will defeat our enemies and that the truth will come out. Paul's grace, it's a grace wish. It's a grace prayer. It's a grace desire that he has, and that's kind of a technical usage there. His grace wish in this is that God would show his grace to us. And he uses that kind of phrase quite a lot in his writings. It acts like a bookend because way at the beginning of the book of Romans, it said, grace and peace to you from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. And now he has gone all this way and he is saying grace to you again. In verses 21 to 23, he conveys greetings to the Romans from some other folks. Timothy was Paul's closest teacher, and we're going to go through this part quickly. He is identified as a co-writer in 6 of the books. 2 of the books were written to him. I like this letter. Everyone's deserted me, and I'm going to die. Dear Timothy, don't be timid, endure hardship, don't let your opponents get you down, preach the word, come quickly. Lucius, maybe Luke the evangelist, Luke the guy who wrote the gospel, but I don't think so because Luke was a Gentile, and he calls this Lucius a fellow Jew. Jason, as we've probably met before. Michael, you did a nice job on this name. Sosipater might be the same as the Sopater of Berea. And actually, they were close relatives of Jesus. He calls them close relatives. That doesn't mean that they were cousins. That probably means they were all Jews. And that's why we're pretty sure that that's not Luke in the Bible. Tertius, he is one of the stranger ones because he says that he wrote Romans. Now, we're going, wait a minute, didn't Paul write Romans? Well, in those days, paper was very rare. They could all read and write, but paper was rare, and so they would hire these professional scribes who could write really tiny and really neat. If you go back and read those early manuscripts, they are all really tiny, and you're looking at them and going, how did they read that? So they had these guys that had these skills and really good eyesight, and they could write this stuff down, and they were really neat. And so Tertius here wrote down what Paul dictated. So yes, Paul wrote the letter. Some of Paul's letters, he says, see what big letters I am writing to you now. Because the professionals had those little tiny ones, and he was scrawling all over the place. But he wrote down what Paul said. Gaius was a common name, but it's probably this Gaius of Corinth that we've read about in 1 Corinthians. You can't really see that there, but that stone comes out of the city of Corinth, and it has this guy's name on it and his job title. And so Paul knew this man, and this man was helping him out in the ministry. Erastus could be also referred to in the Bible. Paul then appropriately concludes his letter with a doxology. It is an amazing thing. He closes with a prayer of praise to God, and he wants everyone to join with him in that particular prayer. He wants others to receive the glory, to receive the grace that he has received. Now, Paul is the teacher, and Paul is the planter. Paul is the waterer, but only God can give the growth.